Awesome. I should be live any second now, hopefully. Think I am now. Okay, cool. All right. So I was just looking at YouTube and Keith Wargo, the executive CEO of Autism Speaks, kept on giving me reasons to make videos that I had missed before when I watched the video there. But what I'm going to do here is just put in Autism Speaks, and then I'm going to hit this week and see what the algorithm picks up so we can get a general idea. Whoops, not playlist. Go back. We don't want a playlist. We want this week. Now, note. The first thing that comes up is Autism Speaks. So they're paying YouTube here for this an advertisement so that people go to Autism Speaks, and so that is the first thing that people see. Autism Speaks doesn't recommend the same organizations that actually autistic people do. Not at all. Instead, they do their own thing. Okay, this is...
There's one simple tooth repair hack
Oh, that is so freaking loud. Oh,
that anyone can use to regrow their teeth and gums overnight.
Oh, that hurts
If you
so bad.
struggle with bleeding or receive...
Okay, this is Orion Kelly, and
recording.
I think he's supposed to talk about Autism Speaks a little bit here. I just want to see what he says about it, and because this is going to give us a general idea about Autism Speaks. This is a Australian creator, and he's talking about Autism Speaks. In the meantime, I would like to give due credit to my most faithful viewer, Autism Speaks. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. All right, let's get going.
Okay, hey. So welcome to another of my world famous, unmasked, unedited, unwatchable videos. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about providing validation and acceptance for autistic people and their loved ones. Now, the difference between this and other videos, that will be edited out, that's for starters, is that other videos I like to try and engage, entertain, and inform, educate people, on things about the autistic life to help autistic people live better lives and to help those who love or care for autistic people. These videos, though, are more, it's kind of like you might call it like a Dear Diary, or it's more like an insight into me, just being me. So there's no part of this that I edit. I don't cut things out. I don't clean things up. There may well be long pauses, and my inability to not rant won't be taken away. So that's what the premise of this is. Me, just one autistic guy, trying to fully be myself without worrying about how I should look so people will watch me on YouTube. So far, I kind of get the impression that a lot of autistic people like these videos because they feel seen. They feel heard, they feel validated. And that's the only reason why I keep doing them, is because that's the whole point of what I'm here for. So if this helps, then I'm all for that. But yeah, this is not an all video of mine. So it's, at the time of recording this, I don't know when you're watching it, at the time of recording this, it's the start of April 2024. Now, for autistic people, you probably well know that April is, in effect, Autism Month to some degree. So there's, I believe it's something along the lines of World Autism Awareness Day, which is on the 2nd of April. So that's, I think that's what it's called. And that is a UN, so a United Nations sanctioned event. So the United Nations sanction, many awareness campaigns throughout the year, presumably to, shine a light on humanity, different parts of humanity.
frankly, the Autism Awareness Day, that actually did come from uh, Autism Speaks. They're the ones who promoted that to the UN. And we'll get into that later.
And then I'm not too sure if it's unofficial or official, or if it's more put on by the autistic people, or I'm not too sure. I don't exactly know. You can put in the comments if you know. But then we more broadly celebrate through the whole month of April, whether you want to call it Autism Awareness Month, or, in my opinion, Autism Acceptance, Autism Appreciation Month. So that's the premise of April. And stress can manifest in many different ways. For me, my skin on my face just gets all weird and red and angry. You probably can't see it. That'd be good if that's the case. If you can, though, like I've got redness on either sides of my nose. I've got cream on it because it's red and it's a bit, like sore or dry. So it's probably very shiny on camera. But again, this is just how I am during the day, normal, everyday autistic Orion. This is stress manifesting. I know if my face gets out of control, gets all red and dry, I know that's one manifestation of life being stressful. So let's break this down. As autistic people, why would a month or a day dedicated to shining a light on us create stress or be a bad thing? I can't answer that question for you. That's not possible. I can only answer it for me. So let's think about this. For starters, Orion, what do you think about Autism Awareness Day or Autism Acceptance Month? What do you think about all this? Not much. Not much. Do I like it? I don't think so. Is it important? Maybe. But here's why. So a good example is, so again, when I recorded this today, this morning, I did a radio interview here in Australia. Okay, a radio interview, like a breakfast radio show about autism. Okay, so I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to be interviewed. That's amazing. Okay, great. But in effect, it was, for an autistic person, a pretty stressful experience. Why? Well, the entire conversation went for under 5 minutes. Now, under 5 minutes in a way of conveying useful thoughts and opinions for an autistic person is, in my opinion, far from inclusive or accessible. Processing questions, trying to get the answer out. That's also, it says, okay, so maybe you do need some awareness today. You got 5 minutes, good luck, right? And that's stressful. And it's stressful because you're trying to do the best you can, but also it's stressful because you don't finish that conversation feeling anything but bad stuff. Like, did I say the wrong thing? Did I not successfully convey things? Did I fail? Did I give it the wrong impression? Did I offend people? There's no good feelings at the end of that. Now, I love doing them to try and help people, try and reach people. But the only thing in my mind at the end is all bad stuff. About it every day here.
Okay, I'm waiting for
It doesn't stop for me. It's not a fad. It's not a ticker box. Board members and non-autistic management, let's say,
okay, here we
they
go.
may have a connection. Now, there's two arguments here. Okay, the first argument is autism organizations sell stuff to make money to, in theory at least, help autistic people. And that, in theory at least, makes a lot of sense. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Cool. Okay, but let's look at the other argument. Okay, so number one, a large portion of autism organizations, not just in Australia, but right across the planet, the big ones, your large kind of peak body type setup, the ones that get a lot of money from governments and corporations, are, in general terms, established and run by non-autistic people, neurotypical people, whatever you want to call it. Okay, they may have
Holistics.
a connection, and that's cool. They may be a loved one. That's cool. But the premise here is that the organizations that are using these moments to make more money, to sell products and make more money or get more exposure, to create more money or more income or more attention or more funds,
He's talking about Autism Speaks here.
to help autistic people, is still all happening through the lens of non-autistic people, right? So, well, what are you spending your money on? How are you using it? Because I wholeheartedly agree that these organizations can do good, right? And are required. I do not, though, wholeheartedly agree that all these organizations are, in fact, doing good.
Correct.
What do you mean, Orion? Well, let's talk about it from a point of view of the way I said it was run and established. You've got an autism organization set up by non-autistic people with non-autistic board members and non-autistic management, let's say for the most part, okay? Then, wow, Orion, actually, you're wrong. We do have a token autistic person on the board. Okay.
Yes, actually, there is a token person right now that is on their executive staff, and that is Miss Elaine Lamb. Elaine Lamb. She is their token autistic person out of 216 people. Autism Speaks. If you were to take a random selection of people, if we only made up 1% of the population, you would have more autistic people anywhere in the world. If you took a random sample of autistic or people, you would have more autistic people than you have working at Autism Speaks. A random sample anywhere in the world of people, you would still have more people than work at Autism Speaks. Is that not sad? Yeah, this is Token USA. There's a Token Canada too, and I think she's the CEO.
But shouldn't there be a majority of autistic people on the board? You know, like 4-3 or something?
Now, he's just talking about the board. I'm just talking about the executive staff.
We've got a token autistic person in middle management. Wow. Our CEO has an autistic child. Wow. Right. Okay, so...
Yeah, he's talking about Keith Wargo. Keith Wargo sent me an email and told me that his son was autistic. So that's what he's talking about right now. Again, this was made 4 days ago, so it is current in 2024.
You're getting your funding from the government or organizations or corporations, right? You're selling your products during April. You're making your money. And you're using the large portion of that. And you can, if you'd like, you can get all your financial statements and send them through and we'll have a look at them. But the bottom line is you're using...
I can send those to him.
a large portion of that money, in my opinion, to pay for your staff, a lot of which are not autistic people. Now, we well know that autistic people are not just underemployed, they're unemployed. I mean chronically and profoundly. So significantly over a long period of time. Okay? But we're not hiring them. We're not using that money to hire them. We're using that money to pay all these non-autistic staff members. Right? Whether they're just...
And bonuses into the millions of dollars. They netted $39 million last year, and less than $500,000, a little over $400,000 was earmarked, went to actually autistic families. And one of those was likely Token, because her son, she said her son was one of these guys here, was diagnosed. Both of them are autistic, but that Autism Speaks paid for one of these guys' diagnoses, which is cool. It's just that the way corporations work and so forth, the way they pinch pennies and so forth, because she is autistic and her sons are autistic, and I understand she said that Autism Speaks also pays for her kids to go to school or whatever, which is fine if that's for an autistic service. But I bet you out of that $400,000, that's exactly where that came from. Which technically she would be eligible for, but it's really shady when she's getting something like a $250,000 bonus or whatever she gets. I think I saw it the $250,000 one time for her. I'm not positive on that. Trying to find that again. Moving right along.
Your standard employees, or middle management, or CEOs, or boards, or even worse, outsourcing large portions of money to other organizations to create things for the organization. So the idea here, think about it like this. You sell autistic stuff to autistic people, right? Because, I mean, let's be honest, the most people...
And this is all on the funds, people's goodwill, hoping that this will help autistic people, go directly to helping autistic families.
People that are going to buy the autistic propaganda or the autistic merchandise are usually autistic people or friends of or family of. Using that to make money, to pay for more non-autistic staff members, right, non-autistic run organizations, to then decide how that money can be used to help autistic people. Have I missed a meeting? Have I walked into the wrong universe? Where am I? Okay. So, it's like, seriously, guys. And I see some of, like, you get social media campaigns from some of these organizations, right? And you got all these, honestly, you just go on LinkedIn, right? And you see all the people that work for these organizations patting themselves on the back. How good is this? Or another award-winning campaign. An award-winning campaign as judged by who? It clearly wasn't a group of autistic people.
And the thing is, it's always focused on Autism Speaks. The focus always goes back. It's like a narcissistic parent that you don't want.
People. As judged by who? The same people that give you your funding every year? What do you mean award-winning campaign? If your campaign is award-winning, show me how it's changed the lives of autistic people.
They sure aren't getting the rewards or recognition from any organization of actually autistic people. Zero of actually autistic people. Watch, they'll make one up. See, I paid George, Sam, and Fred here $3 million each, and now they're an actually artistic organization. And you're wrong. You'll be talking to our attorneys. I know that's going to be what's coming next too.
Oh, but Orion, you can't let perfection get in the way of good. What are you talking about? Who said perfection? People have this issue with any level of accountability or improvement. And then the way of shutting that down is go, well, that's perfectionism. No, it's not. It's accountability. It's accountability. It's you're patting on the back.
And exactly. They're trying to make it look like with the puzzle piece that we're nitpicking. Well, you think it's because you said we're broken, but we didn't say that, and or we think it's because you said that it's because you can't be figured out and you're a puzzle, and all this. Oh well, we changed it from blue and we put the puzzle piece with some color in it now. The thing is that they continuously knowing that the actually autistic community hates that symbol. It's not the fact that nitpicking about the puzzle piece. It's the fact that most of the actually autistic community hates that. But you're going to sit there and try to defend it rather than just getting rid of it. If it was McDonald's and people didn't like the golden arches, most people, like overnight for whatever reason, hated the golden arches, it would not be the golden arches for the week. Guarantee you. If they knew they were offending the very people that they wanted to be their customers. Are you kidding me? It's the principle of the slap in the face. The disregard for the autistic community, for autistic people. That's the problem. It's not the puzzle piece. You're nitpicking. It's the principle. And you should know that autistic people go on principle and what's just and what's right. And we don't believe what you're doing is right, as in general. But don't take my advice for this. Go around the actually autistic community. Ask us. Let me interview you.
What a great campaign. They're bullshit campaigns. The majority of the social media campaigns by these organizations are bullshit. Absolute crap. Nothing about them that's interesting. They're not engaging. They're boring. They're just like talking heads with words and things. And who's watching that? Who's interested in seeing that? What do you talk? What is this? How has it helped? It's won an award, has it? Okay, great. Let's talk about how you judge awards. Okay, so if you're an organization helping autistic people, how are you helping autistic people? How have they been helped? Not in your corporate, spinny, broad, I mean specifically. Because here's the interesting fact, guys.
Okay, so this is what I talk about a lot. They have this really horrible, like late 80s search engine on their website that it basically, like, sometimes it'll take you to just an address line and a phone number. It might say kind of part of what the company is, but it won't even say all that all the time. It's really horrible. Or it'll take you sometimes to third-party articles or whatever, but it doesn't matter. The thing is if they get an email with a question or whatever, or a telephone call or whatever, all they have to do is say, go to the website. It has resources. From there on, they mark that ticket as answered, and that means that they helped an autistic person find resources. Now, it doesn't matter if that website leads to anything. That doesn't matter. They led them to resources. It doesn't matter if those resources applied or not. It doesn't matter if they were there or not. They sent them to a directory. Their directory. By the way, you have to go through about a gazillion give me money freaking tabs to get to whatever information you need anyway. But I mean, okay, I was exaggerating. It's not a gazillion. I don't know how big that number is. It sounded really good though.
This is the part that you need to hear. This is the truth. In 2024, the UN, the United Nations, you don't get more peak body than that, champ, have said the theme for World Autism Awareness Day, and then more broadly, Autism Acceptance Month, or whatever you want to call it, is from surviving to thriving. Listen to that again. The theme that we need to focus on in 2024,
from surviving to thriving. Without us, you can't survive, but with us, you can thrive. And once again, the focus is on Autism Speaks. And it also suggests that we're subhuman, that we can't function without them, that we're just barely surviving, that we're not thriving, or we can't. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know what Orion Kelly's going to say here.
Is how we can get autistic people across the planet to go from surviving to thriving. The UN have said, we've looked around, we've had a bit of a look-see, lifted up some rocks, and damn, those autistic people, they're legit barely surviving. They need help. The UN have said, we need to talk.
Now, he's Australian. I have not seen this. And we had the same exact impression. I just think that's very interesting. I'm in Colorado.
Talk about how to get autistic people from surviving to thriving. Forget about thriving, by the way, for a second. Autistic people in this modern day world, with all these autism organizations making all this money and being award-winning and helping autistic people, right? Okay, so if that's the case, let's look at the facts. The UN says autistic people are only surviving. Okay, so then what have you done, autism organisations? You've taken the money from the government. You've taken the money from us and the community, right? You've tried to fundraise.
Okay, so there are trails, and I can show it, and I will show it right here. This is on opensecrets.org. Okay, nope, not this one. Is it Nonprofit Explorer? Nope. Oh, come on. Open Secrets. Yes. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is lobbying money and so forth that is donated in the name of Autism Speaks by very close. This says, now this is in the United States. This is how it works. How corporations get around things. You can't give to politicians directly. Like a outfit like this can't give directly. However, like the CEO's mother, their son, their wife, husband, whatever, can give in the name of Autism Speaks to these same politicians that Autism Speaks wants these special interests and gifts and blah 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 for. To the amount of $134,000 going directly to the National Republican Committee. They got $132,000. The National Republican Congressional Committee's only purpose is to put Republicans in the House of Representatives, and it says it right here. The National Republican Congressional Committee, NRCC, is a political committee devoted to increasing the number of Republicans in the House of Representatives. Now, to be fair, this is not directly Autism Speaks giving $500,000 to lobbying and so forth. It's just the family members of the people who work there. So favors and things are getting shuffled around. These people are not doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. This is how things are kind of covered up, and then people do favors behind the scenes, the back door kind of thing. That's just how it works in corporate America. And I'm sure every country has the same thing. So anyway, where was I?
Thinking I'm gonna start cutting carbs. I need to drop my belly fat.
Okay, we're back on Iron.
If you want to drop this,
Ryan Kelly.
Surviving to thriving. Listen to that again. The theme that we need to focus on in 2024 is how we can get autistic people across the planet to go from surviving to thriving.
Now, he's talking about Autism Speaks' influence on the United Nations, and this is the, motto?
The UN have said, we've looked around, we've had a bit of a look-see, lifted up some rocks, and damn, those autistic people, they're legit barely surviving. They need help. The UN have said, we need to talk about how to get autistic people from surviving to thriving. Forget about thriving, by the way, for a second. Autistic people, in this modern day world, with all these autism organizations making all this money, and being award-winning and helping autistic people, right? Okay, so if that's the case, let's look at the facts. The UN says autistic people are only surviving. Okay, so then what have you done, autism organizations? You've taken the money from the government, you've taken the money from us and the community, right? You've tried to fundraise and all this kind of stuff to help autistic people. Okay, the UN says we're only surviving. So what have you actually done? I know you've paid for all your high-priced execs and staff members, and you've made your organization grow to so many employees. Fantastic, guys. Great. But why are we only surviving then? Oh, but Orion, that's just the UN. Okay. Because, in the end, my experience is more with Australian-based organisations. So I'm going to be specific. Let's talk about Australia then. Okay, Australian-based organisations that are award-winning and just making so much money and helping autistic people. Why is it that the Senate report in 2022, after looking into autistic people in modern-day Australia, said that the life of an autistic Australian is unacceptably poor, unacceptably bad? Horrifically disproportionate life expectancies, between 20 and 30 years difference, right? Almost no ability to have a job, therefore no money. No social acceptance, no inclusive or accessible acceptance in the community. An inability to get any kind of education. An inability to even meet with medical professionals that have the slightest bloody idea what they're talking about, to diagnose someone correctly, rather misdiagnose. In addition to almost no access to mental health services. And then they said, wow, this is really crap. Maybe we shouldn't have done this report, but we've done it now. We put it in writing. People are going to read it, presumably. We better do something about it. So 2 years later, 2024, the government are now looking at crafting a thing they want to call something along the lines of, the autism strategy or something. Like it doesn't even matter what it is. A national autism strategy. In effect, the government is saying, the Senate have done a report, autistic Australians are living a life that no other Australian would accept. In fact, the country would be burnt down, would be burned to the ground if any other type of Australian had to experience the life that we can see autistic Australians are experiencing, right? You would legit riot in the street, right? But no, that's okay. It's just autistic people. Just chill, right? You see what I'm getting at here, right? So that's the case. Oh, okay, well, we better do something. We'll do a strategy. So don't tell me, organisations, that what you've done has been beneficial to the autistic community, because you're full of shit. The UN is my source number 1. The Senate report in 2022, source number 2. The National Autism Strategy 2024, source number 3. Simply put, autism organisations need to lift their game. They need to cut out the fat. Cut out the fat.
I don't know why he's not saying Autism Speaks. Maybe because he's an Australian, it doesn't have the same reach there as it does like here in Canada.
Get back to doing what they're supposed to do, which is to help autistic people. Hire autistic people to help autistic people. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So I really want to dig down on this, guys. Here we are.
I love his passion. I really do.
April 2024. And we've been told by the UN something we already know. As autistic people, we barely survive. Okay. Non-autistic people might go, well, Orion, I can tell you 2024 is pretty bleak for most people. Most people can barely survive because the cost of living. Everything's expensive. I mean, everything is more expensive than it's ever been before. Mm-hmm. We're all trying to keep our head above water. We're all trying to survive. Right? Okay. Great thought, great argument. Let me go ahead and smash it back in your face. Number 1, you're struggling to survive, but there's a pretty good chance you have a job or a partner or an education, or you don't have a medically diagnosed disability.
You know what I wouldn't give just to be part of the meetings that go on at Autism Speaks? Just be a video as an autistic person?
Or mental health condition. So yes, the cost of living is horrific. Your life is harder than it's been. I agree. I acknowledge it. But don't think that's the same level of struggle. We're talking about autistic people who, as a rule, don't really have partners to help them, to support them through, don't have families, don't have a job, don't have a house or good, safe accommodation, don't have access to the right medical health services or diagnosis or medications or supports, and simply can't even get seen by mental health professionals. This is an entirely different level of struggle. Now, if indeed, non-autistic, or what you would class as your standard everyday Aussie or human who's struggling through a cost of living crisis, which is real, if it was at the same level, the UN would go ahead and acknowledge it. We know life is hard. I do not take that away from you. I know everything's expensive. Everything is hard. It's hard to keep jobs. It's hard to get good jobs. Pay is crap. I get it. But we have to refocus ourselves back down here to thinking about this isn't this bizarro world that's operating in another universe. Autistic people are humans living on planet Earth. And it's actually factual that our lives are bloody shit. We can't even get past the gear of survive. Our life, from waking up to going to sleep each day, is pure survival mode. We are, in effect, living the life of a caveman. Of course, our brain is more like a Neanderthal. Nevertheless, that's a whole different conversation. So this is what really agitates me, and I find this upsetting. And it's not. And by the way, I don't care how many people are offended. It's not about me offending you or pleasing you. It's about me just being me and talking. It's not my problem if I say something that you find offensive. That's your problem. I'm not trying to be offensive, but if something offends you, that's up to you. I can't help you with that. Just like this person laughs, that person doesn't laugh, I can't help either person with why they didn't laugh. It just is what it is. So, no wonder, like, autistic people hate April. I think about everything I've just talked about. But the crux here is, we as autistic people are stuck in first gear. So what's between surviving and thriving, by the way? Do you think the UN have potentially jumped the gun? Do you think the UN have, in good faith, have almost made like a fanciful analogy? So, when have you ever heard of anyone in life going from surviving to thriving? For example, when have you heard anyone in life, say like me, go from not having a YouTube channel to having a YouTube channel with 1 million views and 1 million subscribers? That's not. We can't go from no YouTube channel to Mr. Beast, right? Because, okay, so there's start a YouTube channel, there's make content, find an audience, grow an audience, right? Then potentially thrive. There's all this in between. But we're not talking about the in between. The UN aren't talking about the in between. So the in between is the problem. It's not about not getting to thrive. It's the world refuses to acknowledge the in between. To get from surviving to thriving isn't actually about just saying, all right, autistic people, you tell us how to get there. It's a strategy. It's a consultation period. By the way, remember my old videos?
See, this is the thing, is when it's all coming from the perspective of Autism Speaks, or when they're coming from the perspective of the families, it doesn't help autistic people. Not in the long run. We're the ones that need the help. And our voices need to be heard. And we need to be qualified as experts at knowing what is wrong with us. We do not want Autism Speaks speaking instead of us.
I think I did one of these, like number 5 or something. Remember that? I was employed to like oversee some online consultation periods for this strategy. I was literally fired over Zoom prior to one of the sessions because I said to them, I think we should be honest, right? And let you can relive it. But I think we should tell these autistic people they're not all going to be able to be heard and say what they want.
Oh, in the military, whenever we would have inspections or whatever, man, they would come up with excuses to get me in another dang state if they could.
To say, and it's going to be time consuming. It's going to be time sensitive, and that's going to be tricky for you to manage what you want to say and get it out. In other words, prepare autistic people. And they said, they in effect took offense to that. Like, well, that's not true. We can't tell people that's the case. But of course, what they're saying is we can't tell them the truth. We need you to be on the same page of fantasy, which isn't the case, right? So I was actually part of the process. I wanted to be, and I was fired from it. Okay, so now here we are going, well, we've listened to these people. They haven't. Here's the strategy. Read the strategy and tell us what you think of the strategy. Well, why would I tell you what I think of the strategy if in the period of consulting to make a strategy, you wouldn't even listen to me and in fact fired me on Zoom? It's like, that doesn't make any sense. But the point I'm trying to make here, is there ever a point? The point I'm trying to make here is to get from surviving to thriving isn't about us going, here's how you do it. It's about you, the community. Do you think an autistic person can get to thriving without you actually taking one little ounce of responsibility for how you treat autistic people at school, at work, in the broader community? Really? The accessibility, the inclusivity, the ability to understand we are actually different. To actually allow that to be something you believe. Because even in the radio interviews I do recently, they all ask the same questions. For starters, they always ask about living with autism. I live with my wife and kids. I don't live with autism. I am autism.
Right, exactly. 1,000%. And this with autism here, the problem with autism is it separates the person from our brain, from what we are, from who we are. If we were no longer autistic, we would be someone else entirely. So if you were to cure us, you would be killing us and putting someone else in our body, essentially.
Without the brain, I'm dead. The same questions. What do you think about the strategy? The point is, they're saying broad statements, economic inclusion and social inclusion. No. We need employers to understand autistic people are different, medically diagnosed different, but you can employ them and their difference can actually be beneficial for them and for you. It creates neurodiversity in your team. But of course, that would incorporate actually accepting differences, and that would incorporate employees beneath you, the employer I'm saying, also accepting their workmates can be different. Oh, no. You can't make work. This is the thing, right? Have you ever seen vision of a parliament in any country, right? Of politicians in parliament, in session, talking to each other. In some countries, it's legit street brawls. In countries like Canada, America, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, it isn't street brawls, but it's basic, 100%, not borderline, actual verbal abuse, right? I frankly quite like it. It's quite funny. They verbally abuse each party, each politician, right? These are the same people that write legislation that says you can't act like this in the workplace. If you act like how we act in Parliament, you should get fired because that's different. If you act like this in the community, you should be fined.
There's the same hypocrisy in the United States. More so, it's a class difference. Once you get to become a politician, then you're a different class of person. And if you went in the Indian caste system, you would actually that you can't in the Indian caste system, but you would have bumped up a caste to be a higher level of people or person.
You treat someone like this at sport or at school, kicked out. Now, if you excuse me, I'm off to the house for another session to go and verbally abuse the opposition party. What are you talking about? See, there's no responsibility. Don't tell us how to act in the workplace and then go ahead and start verbally abusing.
He's going on talking about politicians.
So then you don't get past the interview stage. But let's say your resume is okay, and you get to got into one that knew what they're talking about after a 20-year wait and a $5,000 cost, and you got a diagnosis down in paper, right?
Okay, he's
Why
talking
is
about a bunch of different stuff. I want to look at just specific Autism Speaks stuff. Okay, this is 5 days ago from... Actually, I have seen this.
I never thought
actually kind of
I'd be doing a Frank Azar commercial,
So,
just simply
I hate
because
to disappoint
who'd think
anybody.
I would be in a situation like
Because this actually might be kind of cool. Okay. In the meantime, thank you, Autism Speaks. It's gonna so suck if this is really cool. I'll just look like such a jerk saying all those horrible things about autism. Actually, some of these things I've seen recently are actually pretty cool.
What I remember as a child, like going to school, is that for as much as I wanted to try and like have fun and enjoy life and all that, it was pretty hard. I never really talked a whole lot. I was like pretty shy.
Okay, so they're starting with an autistic person talking. That is really cool. I've seen something similar to this or something about this fella, but I think that's freaking amazing. See the difference in tone that already? That's great.
But even when I would try to make friends,
I'm just kidding. Hate Autism Speaks. Hate, 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 hate.
I just sort of found this disconnect.
When Armani was diagnosed at 2 years old, we really didn't know what autism was. I started thinking about other things like, would he ever learn how to ride a bike?
Okay, now we're switching to parents, but let's see if this is cool or what happens.
You know, would he ever learn how to drive a car? Just normal, everyday things. Autism Speaks was really kind of like that beacon of hope, because that's where we learned.
Oh, Autism Speaks was the beacon of hope. I didn't know. They've actually said it here. I've been saying this for weeks, that it always goes back to Autism Speaks. They will never say, you know what, my son here, he's autistic. He knows what's happening with autism. If you're a teenager his age or whatever, you know, maybe you ought to talk to him. Or maybe my son's autistic and my grandson's autistic and my mother was autistic and we have an idea what's going on. So really, if you go straight to the autistic community, no matter what, if they don't know themselves, they're going to be able to direct you to actually autistic people that do, and experts, because we're autistic. We're going to really have studied those things. So, yeah, go straight to the autistic community. That's the best resource. That's going to be where it goes, right?
A lot about Armani's condition and see how you can move forward.
I wanted to just find something that would make me have a lot of fun, something that would keep me interested. And one thing that would keep me interested was cars.
Armani always wanted to go to the racing track.
See, Autism Speaks, it's just like God. That's why it's so cultish. It's just like with a religion. You always attribute the good things, whatever, to God, and everything else is the devil or whatever. And Autism Speaks is always the God.
And when we would go to the track, where most kids were smiling because like, oh, we're at the fun track, Armani had game face on. And he was literally out there racing people. We got into the competitive karting class, and he got really good.
oh my God.
And that love turned into a passion when I one day told my dad that I wanted to be a professional race car driver.
We could see how it was helping build self-confidence for him. helping him build self-worth. It was a place where he found strength. And so I wanted to support that.
To go from playing with toy cars to NASCAR, you know, it's pretty surreal. I feel like I have a responsibility to the millions of people with autism because at the end of the day, like if I can continue to do that, those millions of people with autism will as well.
Watching him out there achieve his dreams, just being out there, you know, is just, it's unbelievable. I tell families with disabilities it's important to kind of step back and really watch your child. And if they want to go to the right with them. If they want to go to the left with them. Because they're trying.
And they're telling this love story, like, you know, between this father and son and this dude, this autistic dude who's driving, which is cooler than hell. But they said that none of this would be possible. Dad just said that it was all autism.
To show you how they're going to get through.
It's so sad.
For people with autism, a lot of us have some sort of talent in our heart that we believe in and we know that we can do. You know, and it's just a matter of finding it. Now it's time to go to work. It's time to go out there and finish the job.
Pieces. No.
Starting 26, the Blue Spring Toyota, Armani Williams.
We had a conversation heading into this weekend, and we said, you know, why not us? Why not us?
Green flag waves in the air. We are racing at Daytona.
I think us with autism, we have an innate ability to be laser-like focused on things that catch your eye. We're always trying to make split-second decisions and be ready for any possibility.
How about that blue and white number 13 of Armani Williams right now, running up in the top 5, doing an amazing job.
And I'm always gonna keep working, I'm always gonna keep grinding, and I'm not gonna give up what I truly love.
Act fearlessly for change, but yeah, that was so freaking ableist when his dad.
To go.
Like, would he ever learn how to ride a bike? You know, would he ever learn how to drive a car? Just normal, everyday things. Autism Speaks was really kind of like that beacon of hope because that's where we learned a lot about Armani's condition. And
There we go again. Here we go again. Here we go again. All right. We're gonna go back to Autism Speak here. No, we just need Autism Speak. We don't need controversy necessarily. I just want to see what's been said in the last week or so. So let's see. Last hour of this week. Here we go. All right. World Autism. I don't know what this is. This was streamed 5 days ago. By who?
Is expressed by Dr. Grant Pichet and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not.
Okay, so. Oh, well, this didn't really have anything. Okay,
Be in any way construed as child-specific advice.
Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism. Doreen Grant-Pichet. Dr. Grant-Pichet. Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet. Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet is a visionary.
Okay, I don't care about her. Not today. Oh, well, no, we don't want controversy. Why did they do that? I hate it when they try to do that for me. and it fills it in. I tried to get rid of that earlier, just a second ago. Okay, this week. All right, so we already watched that. Meet the Champions of Change. Okay, this gets bad, and I'll show you why. But okay, let's go to this.
Are you ready to unlock the transformative power of play therapy? Our new course, Neurodiversity Affirming Play Therapy with Children and Teens, led by expert Robert Jason Grant, will give you...
What? Autism Speaks. Why isn't there hardly anything about Autism Speaks? 4 days ago. Okay.
What's up, everybody? Mark and Sarah back for another
this
episode.
Is bad. Okay, this is really, really bad when the comments are turned off. No matter what, this is probably a cult. It's probably I don't even know what this is, but this is a very bad scene. Very bad scene right off the bat. If this is autistic people, it's gonna be from the side that is your Autism Mom ABA Autism Speaks side. I don't know what Able Today is. We'll see.
Episode of Able Today. This is important disability journalism, communicating all of the things happening in the disability space. Sarah, I'm really excited to do today's episode, specifically because April is Financial Literacy Awareness Month, and it's also Autism Awareness Month. What's that mean to you, Sarah?
Well, you know, Mark, here at Able Today and on this podcast, we take advantage of every opportunity in our disability journalism to bring on the best, the brightest subject matter experts from around the country.
Okay.
So that's what.
Okay, so maybe this is general disability, and I sure as shit hope they don't go straight to Autism Speaks and qualify them as experts or something like that. Oh no. No, this
what
is
we're
gonna be
doing
so
here with this
ableist
episode.
Because it says in episode 7 we had a great conversation with leaders from Autism Speaks. This is going to be so juicy. Wow. I cannot wait.
As we have two very special guests from the autism community that are going to bring that perspective and some history on how the original Able Act came to be.
I need to
love
get
it.
something to eat.
Speaking of, you have some personal history, so I'm going to let you give everybody an intro to Stuart, and then we'll talk about Josh for a quick second before we bring him on.
Yes. So, in my opinion, I can't think of any other better advocate and friend and colleague than Stuart Spielman. Stuart is the Senior Vice President for Advocacy for Autism Speaks. So he'll be joining us on this episode. Stuart and I have been friends, Mark. You've heard me talk about him. So I'm so glad that I finally got to introduce you formally to Stuart. But we've been friends since essentially 2008 when he joined Autism Speaks as a staff member, as part of the organization after being a volunteer. Stuart played an instrumental part in helping us get Able across the finish line. Like so many advocates, Stuart has a personal connection to autism through his son, Zach, who I've met several times. He used to come out to many of our NDSS events with Stuart and his wife, Mona. And they're just longtime friends of mine, and he's like family.
Well, we talked about, the relationships that we forge doing this work. I could only imagine that having someone like Stuart in your corner when you were trying to get the Able legislation through Congress was just instrumental.
Yeah, it's good people, good friends, and just that pure old-fashioned advocacy that helped make it happen. So this episode's really about kind of the past of Able, the present, and then the future. So do you want to introduce our other guest?
Yeah. So Josh is doing all of the workforce development related work for Autism Speaks, and which is incredible because of, I see it from the lens of Split Second Foundation. We're trying to do the same level of work in vocational training for people with different abilities. So to be able to have a conversation with someone who is also in that space and has been doing this for a number of years and even started as a volunteer, right? To now having built a program
He's
and
just
seeing how
gushing, isn't
Able
he?
also fits into that body of work is just incredible. So with no further ado, why don't we just bring our guys onto the show and have a little chat, shall we?
Let's do it.
Guys, it's great to have you on. Stuart, can you tell us a little bit about Autism Speaks and how your advocacy career evolved when you began working for Autism Speaks in 2008?
Sure. Thanks, Mark. It's great to be with you. So Autism Speaks is an autism organization, as the name suggests. Autism Speaks has been around since 2005, and we're dedicated to creating an inclusive world for people with autism throughout their lives. And we do this through various means, such as advocacy, research, innovation, services, and supports. So I joined Autism Speaks in 2008, and joining Autism Speaks gave me an opportunity to do what I had previously done as a volunteer, but only more so to get involved at the federal and state level on projects of significance to our community and personally to my son, Zach, who is approaching 30 now. And at the time, yes, it's
Makes me feel old, Stuart. Makes me feel old.
Makes me feel very old. But this was a way for me to advocate and to be connected to my son in my work, which is just a perfect blending of currents in a stream.
Wow. It's
I love
awesome,
it.
Stuart. I know. I can't believe it's taken us this long for Stuart and Mark to connect and meet. And speaking of, it took us way too long to connect and meet. And Josh, Stacy Pfeiffer, who runs Nebraska Able, ran into you at, I believe, a disability conference event several months ago. And we started talking about like past, present, future of Able Today and Autism Speaks and all the important work that we can do together. So jump in and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I met, as you said, Stacy at a conference in Lincoln, and I was there to talk about employment and the importance of the impact that employment can have on autistic individuals and their families. And shortly after that, she had gathered me up and said, "Hey, we got to talk about Able." And you know, I knew about Able obviously from Stuart's work and others, and you know, I got engaged in the work both personally and professionally. So I have 3 adults in my household. I have 2 autistic adults, much like Stuart. My son is 24, so you know, cresting up there, and you know, our daughter is 22, soon to be 23. Both need different supports when it comes to employment, and but both should be have the opportunity to be employed and have the opportunity to save for their retirement and save for those bills and so forth. So got involved with Autism Speaks as a volunteer, actually through meeting Stuart at a Senate hearing, probably more years than we care to think about, Stuart, and then was working for the state of Iowa and jumped on to help during the pandemic.
It's just going to be so juicy. Stuart Spielman, he is the like #1 board member, I think the president of Autism Speaks. This is just going to be wonderful. I can't wait
to build out the employment portfolio for Autism Speaks to you know, continue to move that needle towards employment for those who want to work and be engaged in the space. And after you and I and Stacy got
talking, God, these guys just go on and on and on
talking about how we can accelerate the Able Today. You know, I do think a big missing piece, I know we'll talk about it on this cast, is really connecting the employers to the benefits for their employees. And so I don't want to steal the next thunders or whatnot, but that's a little bit about me, and I'm really obviously happy to have this conversation with y'all.
We're super excited. So Stuart, Josh, which
and has been doing this for a number of years and even started as a volunteer, right? To now having built a program and seeing how Able also fits into that body of work is just incredible. So with no further ado, why don't we just bring our guys onto the show and have a little chat, shall we?
Let's do it.
Guys, it's great to have you on. Stuart, can you tell us a little bit about Autism Speaks and how your advocacy career evolved when you began working for Autism Speaks in 2008?
Sure. Thanks, Mark. It's great to be with you. So Autism Speaks is an autism organization, as the name suggests. Autism Speaks has been around since 2005, and we're dedicated to creating an inclusive world for people with autism throughout their lives. And we do this through various means, such as advocacy, research, innovation, services, and supports. So I joined Autism Speaks in 2008, and joining Autism Speaks gave me an opportunity to do what I had previously done as a volunteer, but only more so to get involved at the federal and state level on projects of significance to our community and personally to my son, Zach, who is approaching 30 now. And at the time, yes, it's
Makes me feel old, Stuart. Makes me feel old.
Makes me feel very old. But this was a way for me to advocate and to be connected to my son in my work, which is just a perfect blending of currents in a stream.
Wow. It's
I love
awesome,
it.
Stuart. I know. I can't believe it's taken us this long for Stuart and Mark to connect and meet. And speaking of, it took us way too long to connect and meet. And Josh, Stacy Pfeiffer, who runs Nebraska Able, ran into you at, I believe, a disability conference event several months ago. And we started talking about like past, present, future of Able Today and Autism Speaks and all the important work that we can do together. So jump in and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I met, as you said, Stacy at a conference in Lincoln, and I was there to talk about employment and the importance of the impact that employment can have.
Stacy Pfeiffer, who runs Nebraska.
And to be connected to my son in my work, which is just a perfect blending of currents in a stream.
Wow. It's awesome, Stuart. I know. I can't believe it's taken us this long for Stuart and Mark to connect and meet. And speaking of, it took us way too long to connect and meet. And Josh, Stacy Pfeiffer, who runs Nebraska Able, ran into you at, I believe, a disability conference event several months ago. And we started talking about like past, present, future of Able Today and Autism Speaks and all the important work that we can do together. So jump in and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I met, as you said, Stacy at a conference in Lincoln, and I was there to talk about employment and the importance of the impact that employment can have on autistic individuals and their families. And shortly after that, she had gathered me up.
The piousness of this. These people are better than autistic people. Way better than autistic people. They're not even going to mention autistic people. All we have are these bigots. And they're literal bigots. Let's look up the word bigots. How do you spell that? Bigot. How do you spell bigot? Bigot. A person who is ostensibly or unreasonably attached to a belief, opinion, or faction, especially one who is prejudiced against or antagonistic towards a person or people on the basis of their membership group. Yeah, they're bigoted. Literally bigoted towards autistic people.
Up and said, "Hey, we got to talk about Able," and you know, I knew about Able obviously from Stuart's work and others.
I know we know about ableists. We're looking at them.
I got engaged in the work both personally and professionally. So I have 3 adults in my household. I have 2 autistic adults, much like Stuart. My son is 24, so cresting up there, and our daughter is 22, soon to be 23. Both on need different supports when it comes to employment, and but both should be have.
But we're going to speak instead of these 2 autistic people that you have direct access to.
The opportunity to be employed and have the opportunity to save for their retirement and save for those bills and so forth. So got involved with Autism Speaks as a volunteer, actually, through meeting Stuart at a Senate hearing, probably more years than we care to think about, Stuart. And then was working for the state of Iowa and jumped on to help during the pandemic to build out the employment portfolio for Autism Speaks to continue to move that needle towards employment for those who want to work and be engaged in the space. And after you and I and Stacy got talking about how we can accelerate the employment portfolio for Autism Speaks to continue to move that needle towards employment for those who want to work and be engaged in the space. And after you and I and Stacy got talking about how we can accelerate the able today, I do think a big missing piece, I know we'll talk about it on this cast, is really connecting the employers to the benefits for their employees. And so I don't want to steal the next thunders or whatnot, but that's a little bit about me, and I'm really obviously happy to have this conversation with y'all.
We're super excited. So Stuart, Josh, which Senate brief or hearing was this? We have to. You're gonna have to timestamp this for us.
The initial one, Stuart, it was with Bob Wright and Bradley Whitford, I think, is when you and I connected initially. So is that more years than I care to count? Over 10, because Noah would have been 5 or 6. So it was substantial. Senator Harkin was leading that through the help committee.
I think I was going to say, I think I remember this one because we're getting ready to celebrate, Stuart, 10 years of the ABLE Act in December. I mean,
That's right.
It's been a decade.
It does not feel like a decade, though, does it?
It does not. I feel like a decade. Yeah. It feels like it was just yesterday, and that kind of leads me to my question, Stuart, for you. I mean, you and I both know this very well because we lived it every day in our careers. Advocacy isn't just meeting with federal elected officials or state elected officials. It's also about that state advocacy work, and I see that kind of every day play out. and the work that we're doing in Kansas. But kind of talk to us a little bit about your day job that's evolved at Autism Speaks, because you oversee all policy and advocacy. What are some of those big issues that you're working on besides ABLE? Obviously, we want you to work on ABLE all the time, but
well, Sarah, since we're talking about state work, I got my start as a volunteer working in Maryland on what became the Autism Waiver, a home and community-based services Medicaid program. That was my first project, and it grew out of a realization that I had as a parent that services in different parts of the country were very different, and I was hoping to see better services in my home state of Maryland. I have been involved over the years on state advocacy, individually as a volunteer, and then working for Autism Speaks, and then working through the wonderful advocacy group and colleagues like Josh. I've also been very involved, as you know, on federal advocacy, on ABLE and other matters, Autism Cares Act, foundational legislation for the autism community, so essential, and it's up for reauthorization this year. All of this work is just part of advocacy, and being an advocate means being an advocate in many different ways. You can be an advocate in your local community, with your school board, at your state capitol, or on Capitol Hill. There are many opportunities for people in our community to make a difference.
absolutely, it's making your voice heard, and you've been at the forefront of so many.
Capitol Hill, there are many opportunities for people in our community to make a difference.
Absolutely.
He may not even know an autistic person. He may not even know an autistic person. See his attitude here? He never qualifies an autistic person, never mentions an autistic person. He just has this pious attitude and tells us all about me. I, all the way through there.
Absolutely. It's making your voice heard, and you've been at the forefront of
as a parent talking.
Check this out. It's all about him. He's not going to mention autistic people, qualify autistic people as for anything
about state work. I got my start as a volunteer working in Maryland on what became the Autism Waiver, a home and community based.
So right, I was saying. So here he's going to get into. The autistic community knows what they need the best, and that's why we always go to the autistic community and say, "How can we help you? What do you want? What do you want us to do?" Because you know your needs better than anyone else, and you are the expert, and that's why we qualify you. He's not going to take this pious thing of just I did this, I did this, I did this, not even for, but instead of. Not even that. We're not even going to take the autistic people into the freaking picture. He won't do that. I'm such a liar.
Services Medicaid program. That was my first project, and it grew out of a realization that I had as a
in a different way, including the employers. The employers are going to have to do a little bit of work, but the reward is so worth it, right? When you look at, decreased turnover and many of the other things that have been put out in various reports, it's clear that that's the right approach.
Absolutely. I see it. I definitely see it in the, space for people with mobility challenges. But to your point, in all of these spaces, right? It's about being able to highlight things that people are proficient at and making them better.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
Sarah, I know you see this, in your work as well.
Oh, yes. I mean, everything that Josh described is no different than finding the right career fit for an individual that doesn't have or doesn't identify as having a disability. We at the Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities just hired, for the first time ever, somebody who happens to have a developmental disability. And, she's killing it every single day. We just had the governor come to our meeting.
This is so ableist. It's so horrible. I cannot believe this. Oh my God. The ableist organization.
For the first time ever, Lola introduced her. And it's just giving her the supports that she needs and able to, thrive in her role. But she's a contributing member of our team and staff in every which way, and meets the expectation, exceeds expectations every single day. So I think it's incredible what you're doing, and thinking about how does ABLE now factor into that benefits conversation.
Yeah. No, I love that. Sarah, do you want to talk about the partnerships between NDSS and Autism Speaks?
Yes. So we have a lot of exciting new partnerships going on. Josh, I don't know if you want to kind of talk a little bit about the plans for the webinar next month, April being Financial Literacy Month, but also Autism Awareness Month.
Yeah. So, this is, again, is going on the 24th, I believe. We've got her penciled in, and really looking forward to connecting with employers around the space of obviously employment opportunities for autistic individuals and others, but really also how they can leverage ABLE accounts for better employee morale, better just support for individuals within their system, and how that looks, and then how that can be extrapolated out. Again, talking about retention and all those other things that we don't typically think about when we're looking at benefits. This is such a great benefit that a lot of companies are really not utilizing. And so we want to highlight that. And then we want to also highlight how, Autism Speaks Workplace Inclusion Now can help create welcoming, inclusive environments for individuals with autism or other related disabilities, so we can make sure that we provide that space for them and give them the opportunities to not only obviously save, right, and do those things through ABLE, but also earn and have a career and upward mobility and all those other things that we currently enjoy, and that really there's such, individuals with autism are such benefits to the workforce. reliability wise, just skill set. When you match that right
I'll
skill,
have the
it's
camera
just
on in just a
unbelievable.
sec.
And so we just want to highlight that opportunity and really talk through how those are connecting in nature, right? It's not one or the other, it really is both, and both will help move that workforce further. Sarah, let me know what I missed on that.
You covered it all. Well, actually, you did miss one thing, Josh. And I think, it's probably better for me to say this than you. But the other great thing about this content and this partnership and all of the education that will kind of flow from this national webinar is that you all are already talking the talk and walking the walk. Autism Speaks has their own employee resource group, and Stacy and Betty Ann and I had the chance to join you thanks to Stuart, pulling us into that conversation.
And this wasn't about they have one,
which is so great. That's what we pride ourselves on at Able today, is providing this content free to employee resource groups who are a great opportunity and forum to engage family members, caregivers, and self-advocates about the benefits of Able. So, thank you for helping us start that last year. And I think, we'll be able to do more of that, and we're only stronger together in some of this.
Absolutely. Stuart, Josh, I want to thank you both for your time. I do have one final question, Able related, of course. I need you both to tell me individually, of course, what's the best thing about Able accounts?
Okay.
Stuart?
So I can tell you that what always impresses me is how easy it is to make contributions. So it's ease of access. This is not like the ancient history days when you got to go back down to the bank and talk to the teller and all these things. It's just a few clicks to make a contribution to an Able account, a contribution that is going to matter, and it matters to me. If my son approaching. Well, he's really an adult now, right? He's he's approaching 30. Preparing.
That's really an adult.
Yeah, I mean, really an adult, preparing for his life. It's just this elegant simplicity and
this provides a little peace and comfort for families.
Love that.
There's so many great things about Able. And Mark, before we wrap up, and Stuart, Josh, that's the question we ask all of our podcast guests. So we appreciate you taking a few moments to do that and comment on the importance of Able. But I think Stuart, we have to let you have the last word here. It's you. This is for the family and for our years of advocating alongside each other. But just, is there one moment in this journey? It's hard to believe, as Josh said, it's been 10 years that stands out as us putting those blood, sweat, and tears into helping get Able across the finish line that stands out to you. And can you believe we've come this far?
So this has always been a labor of love. This has been a matter of loving the work and also loving the people. And having that instant connection with people. Of course, this is the Steve Beck Able Act, and I have vivid memories of Steve and being in meetings with Steve when he would go from talking about the Washington Capitals or his job to being
and my ears are hurting so bad. Oh, I'm in so much pain. Okay, so Autism Speaks, and Don't know what that was, but okay. Okay, let's see. This was 5 days ago. Let's see what this is.
ഒരു സ്പെഷ്യൽ ഗസ്റ്റ് ആണ് ഇന്ന് മെട്രോ ലൈഫിൽ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത്. ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് പ്രീത ആൻഡ് വിനീത്. വെരി വെരി ഗുഡ് മോർണിംഗ് ടു യു ആൻഡ് വെൽക്കം ടു ദ ഷോ മെട്രോ ലൈഫ്.
Hello, good morning. Really great to be here.
Hi, good morning both of you. Thank you so much. എന്തായിരുന്നാലും ഒരു സ്പെഷ്യൽ ഗസ്റ്റ് ആണ് ഇന്ന് മെട്രോ ലൈഫ്.
Okay, that's. I'm sorry, the sound's too bad there. It's not good enough quality. Okay, so let's take a look at how they characterize Autism Speaks here.
Let me show you why I recently canceled my expensive doorbell subscription service.
The month of April welcomes in a lot this spring season. It also recognizes autism awareness.
According to Autism Speaks, 1 in 36 children in the U.S. have autism, and for adults, it's 1 in 45. Here at home, that awareness means
have autism as if it is a disease. And they continue to say it put it that way, instead of saying one in whatever people are autistic, because they continuously propagate the idea, and they frame it in such a way that it's a disease.
Looking at the local resources that support families or individuals with autism. And one of those has been serving the Coastal Bend since 2008, transforming lives ever since. You are my sunshine. That's little Ava playing with Robin Blue. And this isn't just a jam session. It's music therapy, one of the many exercises here at Therapy Connections. And the confident little girl you see here, well, it wasn't always like this.
I want chips.
Her mom, Letty Garza, remembering the days her daughter...
Oh, this is going to go straight to Autism Speaks is God and saved my kid. If it wasn't for Autism Speaks that led me to therapy or whatever, and my kid would have never matured or grown and learned stuff if it wasn't for Autism Speaks or ABA. That's the road we're going down. This is an autism mom. I can just tell by the tone already.
Would have to use a tablet just to talk.
She did not speak. She used a communication device on her iPad and app to speak.
But now...
12 months in a year.
Non-verbal to now very verbal. Typical sassy little girl.
Matthew!
It's that growth that motivates Robin Blue and her team to work alongside families of children with autism.
Early intervention.
With autism.
Definitely makes a difference.
And so does honing in on what each child needs.
And just not necessarily the idea of the...
There's going to be puzzle pieces, yeah. Yeah, they all want to work those in. I don't know why. This is like an independent ABA place or something is what it is.
Toolbox that it's a one size fits all. It's finding again what works for that individual.
And for parents like Letty, it's about being your child's strongest advocate.
I know it can be tough. Nobody wants to put a disorder on a child, their own child. You know, I get that. I understand that. But early intervention is the best intervention.
It's not a disorder. And better intervention is the best. Early intervention is the best intervention.
These kiddos are so very smart.
Kiddos. Ugh. Now she's throwing down ABA language. That so freaking triggers me. God. I so hate it when they do that. Damn kiddos.
They just learn differently.
That never limits their potential. Like, I know it's never an excuse. Autism is not an excuse for her not to become what she can become. Her potential is there.
And we do certainly...
That was a weird way to frame it. Okay.
Appreciate the Garza family for sharing their story with us. For any families who may be interested in the services from Therapy Connections of South Texas, we do have their information already online for you to get in touch.
This is the quickest way to clear out stuck poop.
Fiber helps you poop, right? Nope. What about drinking lots?
God damn it.
Their own child, I get that. I understand that, but early intervention is the best intervention.
These kiddos are so very smart, they just learn differently.
That never limits their potential. Like, I know it's never an excuse. Autism is not an excuse for her not to become what she can become. Her potential is there.
So ableist.
And we do certainly appreciate the Garza family for sharing their story with us. For any families who may be interested in the services from Therapy Connections of South Texas, we do have their information already online for
Ours going to go to Autism Speaks.
you to get in touch.
Nope, it got cut off. Darn it. We will never know.
The month of April welcomes in.
Autism Speaks has resources to help people of all ages who are living with autism. Learn more at click2houston.com/community.
KPRC2 Community, made possible by Energy Transfer, Houston Christian University, and Exclusive Furniture.
Isn't that terrible? They're just throwing it out there. Houston Christian University. I bet you money if we go to Houston Christian University that they are on that list. What the hell? I'm not understanding what's going on. Oh, this is the lobbying place. There we go. This is what we're going to be. Right down in here somewhere. Trying to find where it shows how much they gave to it tells us who they gave to and fundraising and stuff. It lists a bunch of universities. And I'm not finding it. Wait, I'm not in it yet. I am not in 2024. I went into 2023. Okay, view filing. That's why I couldn't find it. Whoops. Okay, here it will be in just a second. Okay. That was what is it called?
Autism Speaks has resources to help people.
Houston Christian University. Now I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out right here. If Houston Christian University, because it comes right up here. Okay. It is called Houston Christian University. I bet you money it's in here. It may not be, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Where they're giving money for research. Because they're advertising Autism Speaks. Vanderbilt. Okay, so they're not listed. That's interesting. Let's see if we have anything out of Houston, maybe? That is it? That's just got a different name or associated? I don't see it. Okay, so maybe this... Oh, wait, well, here's Houston, Texas, Baylor College of Medicine. Okay, Baylor College of Medicine. Oh, no, this is Houston Christian University. I don't know why. Maybe they just want to look good with this little thing.
Of all ages who are living with autism. Learn more at click2houston.com/community.
KPRC2 Community, made possible by Energy Transfer, Houston Christian University, and Exclusive Furniture.
That's so weird. I don't know why they would have that logo on there, or... Because I don't think at that level, you can't just, like, just throw stuff on there and, you know... without getting permission or something. So yeah, that was very interesting. I'm going to say this week. What is this? Okay, yeah, this is something about Autism Speaks. And this is always going to be characterized as... it's always going to be characterized in such a way that it's Autism Speaks is God. Always look back to Autism Speaks.
Ever since I was a kid,
that's how it's going to be. It's never going to be anything about the actually autistic people.
Now,
back on this Tuesday, it's also World Autism Day, and in observance, Western Mass News reporter Reagan Lockery has more on how awareness and resources for those on one spectrum and their families have evolved over the years.
In honor of World
There's going to be one of those touchy-feely stories.
Autism Day Tuesday, April 2nd, Western Mass News caught up with Gina Koss, the executive director of Sunshine Village, a local agency that provides services and resources for people with disabilities, including those with autism. Koss tells us the care and world climate for those on the spectrum has positively evolved over the past few decades.
I think the journey really has been from awareness to acceptance to appreciation. People now know somebody who was on the autism spectrum, or maybe 15 or 20 years ago that wasn't the case. And once you know somebody, you know somebody. And you love...
This isn't even Autism Speaks, but they're doing the same thing.
Somebody, and it just increases that appreciation of who they can be and all that they can do for us.
Based on
it's third person. Why not? We are all over the place.
Research from Autism Speaks and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In 2023, 1 in 36 children in the United States had autism, which is up from the previous rate of 1 in
had that disease, autism.
44.
And that language comes from Autism Speaks. That's primarily where people that get that language from.
Whereas for adults, 1 in 45 have autism. And autism prevalence is lower among white children than other racial and ethnic groups. According to Autism Speaks and the CDC, these changes in statistics reflect an improvement in outreach, screening, and destigmatization of autism diagnosis in minority communities.
Yeah, I'm not believing that. I'm not believing that for a minute, that minorities get get better care than white people? Bull. I don't believe that for a minute.
Communities. In honor of World Autism Day, Sunshine Village provided Western Mass News with a video introducing us to one of their members, Louis Chevalier.
I love to spend time with my family and friends, and I love to make music. I sing, I write, I produce, and I make my own beats. Because music is such a huge part of my life, and I'm proud of what I do, and I love going to Sunshine Village.
We also got a chance to speak with Noel Milan, who explains how autism has touched him and his family.
When my nephew was first diagnosed with autism, it was a little bit challenging. It very was, but with very much of a support, we do love and cherish him every day.
This isn't Autism Speaks' fault there necessarily, but that is definitely how that they characterize. It's all third person. They didn't even figure they talked to, they had that one autistic person, and they made sure that it was a, quote, autistic-looking person. It wasn't some person that, in a crowd of people that you just have no idea. No, they had to make sure that they were autistic-looking enough. Today we were going to be talking about how autism... Oh, that's a good video there. That's mine. Okay, so... Okay, so Autism Speaks to host...
This lighter will give you fire no matter what Mother Nature throws at you. This new incredible electric dual...
Autism Speaks is celebrating its 8th annual Chip-In Casino Night, featuring an open bar, a silent auction, casino-style table games, and sweet treats from Al's Cookie Mix.
Owner and chef Alvin Green joins us now, along with his son Aiden.
Oh, hell no, I'm not watching this again. I am so not watching that one. Basically,
Autism Speaks is celebrating its 8th annual Chip-In Casino Night, featuring an open bar. Cranberry.
This guy here is autistic, and they basically he's like their poster child for this show, and it just kind of pisses me off that this is the stereotype that we want to see all the time, so that people don't really understand what autism is.
More,
so they just say, look at the camera, so
because
he's
we
just
sell,
like, okay,
the more kids we can
trying to do what
employ.
he was told or whatever.
And it's not just autism. We have kids with.
And it just is so annoying that they left him to look that awkward, and they thought that was okay. Maybe they could have prepared him more. No, they just walked him in and boom. I'd feel that awkward too. I'm like, what the heck? That's just so annoying to me. All right.
I actually had success on my first day. Called somebody,
I don't know
got them on the phone, explained the process, and they were.
No. Okay. Misconceptions about autism. Autism Awareness Day. Yeah, I guess. Okay, they're mentioning.
इसके बाद कोई संभाल नहीं सकेगा।
Ouch.
सबको जानना चाहिए कि ऑटिज्म क्या है। कोई जानता नहीं है तो इसको समझना बहुत मुश्किल होता है।
Interact and learn in ways that are different from most people. But they look just like us. They look like regular people. Like everything in life, autism, remember, is a spectrum, meaning that the abilities of the person with autism can vary. For example, some people not caused by vaccines, and that there is a life, and sometimes a very beautiful life.
It's so sad because this lady sounds so ableist. Really good content creators all through there. Autism acceptance. Okay, let's see what this is.
I mentioned some of our partners, and we have to say that this really all began in Coral Gables. Coral Gables was talking about this
whoever this group it is definitely not Autism Speaks.
This is a spectrum, and we're excited to move from autism awareness to autism acceptance. We're not here to eradicate autism. We're not here to make anyone neurotypical. We want to embrace them as neurodiverse, support them so that they can all thrive in the space. Raise the flag! Raise the flag!
Oh, so too bad. Okay, Autism Special... Autism Week, don't do this. Okay, this is 2 days ago. I have not seen this.
For anyone with high blood...
And I started out with Orion Kelly. This is the Aspie World, a very...
sugar. Do not drink cold water.
Very popular...
Type 2 diabetes has nothing to do with sugar. Sugar levels are nothing more than...
So it's World Autism Awareness Week, Acceptance Week, Understanding Week, World Autism Week. All right, let's get into it. Guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the Aspie World. Where do I start? Okay, this video is kind of like one of those long and edited, this is my mind, this is what I'm thinking about kind of videos, right? And I thought a lot about this because it's April, it's first week of April 2024, which means it's World Autism Acceptance Week, right? And even that, right? Acceptance Week. Like, you speak World Autism Awareness Week, and I get it. People say, like, oh, everybody's aware of autism now, but they don't always accept it. I'm like, okay, well, if people don't accept autism, that's their beef, that's their issue. What you really need to be doing is getting people educated on it, right? And it gets to me, okay, because all I see, like, literally all I see is hundreds and hundreds of self-proclaimed influencers. Like, I know I'm an influencer, right? Okay, so I have a YouTube channel, and this is my job, and, like, I do all these things for autism awareness. Like, I love helping and gaining understanding on a global scale of autism and the intricacies of those. That's my job, it's my due diligence, it's my mission in life is to help you as autistic people, as autistic community, right? But I see people within the community bitching, moaning, complaining, negative. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, you see people like, this is what you should say on World Autism Awareness Week. It's Acceptance Week, and this is what you need to do. It's a what do they call it? It's people who have autism, not with autism or have autism. It's an autistic person, always kind of first person language. When we start dictating to people, like, you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing that, what we actually are doing is we're being very narcissistic, or we're being kind of like, and I know people say, oh, well, narcissism could be potentially autism, but it's coming across as narcissism. No. There's a massive difference between narcissism and autism. And some of those differences are like, an autistic person will do the things and be knowing that they're behaving those ways. But a narcissist will do things in a way to control the situation, to implement their ideas across the board, right? And that, to me, is the definition of what's going on here. We have these so-called influencers, which are people who they just got a really big voice, right? And they're just shouting the loudest. It doesn't mean that they're better at anything than anybody else. And also, they're changing the narrative. I've seen a lot of this kind of weird, like, dangerous stuff where they're like, oh, we're not going to call it autism anymore, and autism not a disability, and you can't call it. I got dry skin on my nose, guys. I can see it in the corner of my eye. It's like, bah. Anyway, if you can see the dry skin, I'm sorry. I've been doing a lot of facial treatment and stuff. Anyway, just to make sure my skin stays fresh and healthy, you got to take care.
Now, what I'm talking about is it being the autistic person's voice, not Autism Speaks speaking instead of us, which is exactly what they are doing. They say they're speaking for us, which they shouldn't be doing that.
Take care of yourself. Yo, take care of yourself. But you know what I mean? Like, they're changing the narrative. They're like, you can't say autism is a disability. Well, it is a disability. It's debilitating. It debilitates people daily. Sometimes my life has been so difficult with autism. I sometimes think that if I unalived or if I wasn't here, then things would be easier, right? And that's difficult to talk about, difficult to say, difficult to admit, but it happens, right? But it's something that is apparent. It's apparent because, autistic people don't just think it's a breeze. Kind of like on the same, which one is it? Like people are like, autism not a disability, and then they say, oh, autism not a superpower. It's like, okay, well, it's not a superpower, but it could be. There's certain parts of it that are superpower or superistic, like, my ability to digest information and retain that information and recall it later at date, long, massive pieces of information. Like, that's kind of like a power that not neurotypical people can have. But I don't think autism in general is a superpower. I don't think there's anything super about having those neurological difficulties, right? And disabling disabilities, but there are profound differences, right? You have people on the autism spectrum who can't, verbally speak, who can't, change themselves, can't use the bathroom on their own. Loads of people like this, and me as an autistic person, I get kind of like imposter syndrome about this quite a bit, thinking like, oh, I've got a diagnosis that's similar to this other person, and they have way higher support needs than me, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to feel like that, and it's okay to feel kind of like, oh man, but I still have my own issues, right? And not on the scale this person does, but I do have my own issues. And actually, but now they can, and now they have a voice. Don't come at me. Don't come at anybody. We're going to get even more lonely if we start segregating a voice for people who don't have a voice, right? Me as an autistic person, I get kind of like imposter syndrome about this quite a bit, thinking like, oh, I've got a diagnosis that's similar to this other person. And they have way higher support needs than me, and that's okay. Like, it's okay to feel like that, and it's okay to feel kind of like, oh man, but I still have my own issues, right? And not on the scale this person does, but I do have my own issues, and actually my scale of other issues could be greater than theirs, right? And that's okay, but we should never forget those people. Those people are autistic people. That's exactly why I started this channel, a voice for people who don't have a voice, right? Making autism less lonely. My entire brand now is about making autism less lonely. That's what I'm trying to do, because there's so many lonely people on the autism spectrum, and we're going to get even more lonely if we start segregating each other, because people say, don't support Autism Speaks, right? Don't light it up blue, don't light it up yellow, light up gold and red instead. And oh my god, oh, it's a colour, right? It's a colour. And oh, segregating each other, because people say, don't support Autism Speaks, right? Don't light it up blue, don't light it up yellow, light up gold and red instead. And oh my god, oh, it's a colour, right? It's a colour. Nobody cares, right? What are you physically doing to help, right? Going online and telling a mum who's spent the last 3 years as part of her local Autism Speaks group, right, and raised over $1,000 for their local autism club to buy iPads for the kids who are underprivileged and didn't have access to iPads, but now they can, and now they have a voice. Don't come at me. Don't come at anybody telling them that they're wrong for supporting Autism Speaks in that manner. You know what I mean? Like, that's just stupid. Like, Autism Speaks have a shady past, yes, and they have shady history, and they've got all this kind of weird stuff going on. We're going to get to them. Not in this video. I'm going to do a video all about it. And I'm no way in shape or form saying that I'm an Autism Speaks supporter right now. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, you can't just target, mums of autistic kids. And that's another thing. People use this day to bash other autistic people. Like, oh, you can't use the term Asperger's, and oh no, your information is toxic or poisonous. No, dudes. Like,
Here's an easy thing you can do to add to your routine so that you age better, or maybe better yet, don't even age very much.
This is why I didn't put information out on World Autism Awareness Day. What I did instead is this video, which I'll try and kind of put a snippet in here. I put it on Instagram and TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, just saying like, hey, it's World Autism Acceptance Day, or whatever, or World Autism Day. You know, rather than me tell you about autism, ask me questions. How can I help you? How can I serve you? You guys are my audience. You guys are, you know, this is my community. This is my tribe. Like, I want to hang out with you guys, you know, and like, this is my autistic empire, you know, like, I'm big up to the autistic empire. Woo! You know, like, and it annoys me because changing narratives, like saying that, like, you know, like you can't say with autism or has autism or, you know, have to use autistic person. You don't have to do shit. You can do whatever you feel is right. You're an autistic person. You've your own right, your own initiative, your own, you know, we live in a society where we're allowed to call people plural. We're allowed to say they and them, right, for a single person. And that's fine. I don't care. You can use those pronouns because that's you. And I think that's great that you have the ability to do that. Just as I have the ability to use the term Aspie or Asperger's or whatever. It doesn't define you as a...
But he's talking about the autistic community, kind of infighting and stuff here. And that. He's not talking about Autism Speaks speaking instead of autistic people. That's what the problem is. When we don't get to define it for ourselves. They decide they are going to decide for instead of us.
Person. Your actions towards the group define you as a person. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, let's stop being narcissistic. Let's stop being negative. Let's stop going against the grain. Why don't we encourage the communities to come together? Why don't we do something as a group? What are you doing to encourage the betterment of the group? Every single piece of my business, when we make a decision, when me and my team sit down and make a decision, we think, is this going to better the group as a whole? If the answer is no, then we're not going to do it. Is a video bitching about autism mums, giving them a backhand slap because they're learning in this journey, in this process, and they're doing the best for their kid? You know, is it right to bash them? Well, no, of course it's not. Is that going to better the group? No, it's actually going to segregate the group more. It's going to make those mums scared of reaching out for help. Do you think you're going to meet someone head on with negativity and they're going to be like, oh, great, thank you so much for that, it's amazing, I think you're just so cool? No, that's BS. My nose is really itchy now because of this dry skin going on.
I hope he gets into Autism Speaks stuff.
Do my head in. But guys, the biggest takeaway for me from all this is that, like, let's stop dictating what you should be doing with your life on the autism spectrum, right? We're here to help and advocate. If you're an autistic influencer watching this, then come with me on this journey of helping and accepting and learning together with the greater community. Let's stop segregating out. Let's stop saying that somebody can't do this or somebody can't do that, and you need to do this, and you need to light up green or red or whatever, gold or whatever. It's like, those things don't matter, right? That doesn't matter. What actions, what steps are you taking to improve the condition of the group? That's what...
My way's a highway, buddy. I'm just kidding.
Matters. How are we pushing ourselves forward, urging ourselves towards an existence that's full of potential, of joy, laughter, help, support, equality? That's the difference. You know, I set up a company with a guy called Authentic, and we're making accessible tools for Google Chrome, which will be apps soon as well, which are kind of helping people understand emotions. Like, you could highlight over somebody's face and be like, what emotions is this person having? Or you could do it in real time over Zoom and be like, you know, is this person happy or sad? And it'll tell you. You know, that improves the quality of the group. That improves our existence.
It might, but what if it's wrong?
Towards a more successful interaction, because what we're trying to do as autistic people is decode the world around us to make it more accessible, right? That's what we're doing with everything, the technology, the videos, the understanding, the books, everything is to make autism, the world for autism, more accessible. And if you're not doing that, then what are you doing, right? Offering support is great because it helps make access to the world. When you get somebody grounded,
I really need to go to Autism Speaks stuff. bunch of shorts. What's this? Uh-oh. National Autism Awareness Month. Yeah, okay. I don't know what that organization is. Okay, we're going to do this again. We're going to refresh this again. We'll say today, maybe? I don't know this stuff. I don't know that language. Sorry. 53 minutes ago, conversation about our autism. That's interesting. I was just on a show about that yesterday.
In just 3 minutes' time.
Very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to have to, I guess, go back to Google and try to get news. Okay, we've looked into that. 5 days ago, how to support the Autism Acceptance Month. Boy, a Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah, I definitely talked about that. Chuck E. Cheese is basically one of many, and this really does need to be addressed. And that's all these donors right here. On this very white Autism Speaks page, they've always got this in white, but let's see what they say here. We support our corporate partners. See, and that's so important here. Are the corporate people, those corporate partners, so to speak. And these guys are just playing the game. Together we work to support every partners, and this is not going to be about, this is not going to be about autistic people. It's going to be about Autism Speaks. Watch. We work to support every partner's business goals. That's Autism Speaks, I imagine. Or whatever other business they're working with here. Creating customized campaigns that are engaging, measurable, and built for long-term success. We lead with messaging and on-brand, purpose-driven. See, this is all about sales. What the hell? We'll provide life-changing. Oh, wow. We lead with messaging that is on brand and purpose driven, and we share a stake in the success of each partnership. A successful campaign will provide life-changing autism research, which we don't want, advocacy, services, support to help people with autism because it's a disease, and those who support them thrive. See how narcissistic this is? It's not about autistic people. As our partner, you'll receive regular communications featuring programmatic updates, organizational milestones, impactful stories from the autism community. That's not the actually autistic community. That's the Autism Speaks ABA Autism Mom community. That's entirely different. We believe in a collaborative approach, hand in hand with our partners to secure, nurture. That's really weird. There is an approach for partnering with this aligns every business need and growth strategy. Growth strategy. Learn how Autism Speaks has been helping companies engage with their employees, customers, communities grow their social impact. We're going to help your business grow. across the spectrum throughout the lifespan can reach their full potential. Oh, it's so ableist. They can reach their full potential because of us. Inclusive of all abilities, race, ages, identities, blah 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 blah. Okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, they're bigots. I had to look that up. Oh. All right, I've got to. I have to get off. I'm trying a new medicine right now, and it is killing me, and my brain is about shutting down. So I've got to stop for a little bit. So I will probably go take a nap, and when I get back up, we will start all over again. This is David Page. Screw them.